12,000 Americans dead, 38,000 wounded, over 100,000 Japanese soldiers dead. And then there are the civilians. Conservative estimates say 60,000. Some say over 100,000. Okinawan civilians caught between two armies, forced into caves by Japanese troops, told Americans would torture them, convinced to commit suicide rather than surrender, mothers killing their own children, families jumping off cliffs together. The Battle of Okinawa wasn't just a military operation. It was a preview of what invading Japan would look like. And it was so horrific that it convinced American planners that conventional invasion was impossible. 82 days, April 1st to June 21st, 1945. The longest battle of the Pacific War, fought on Japanese home territory. Okinawa is part of Japan proper. This isn't a remote island. This is Japan, and the Japanese military fights like it. Every cave, every hill, every village, defended to the death. No retreat, no surrender. Just kill as many Americans as possible before dying. And the civilians? Caught in the middle, used as shields, forced into battle zones, convinced that surrender means torture and death. The result is a humanitarian catastrophe, a preview of Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of mainland Japan. After Okinawa, American military planners know, if we invade Japan, millions will die. Japanese, Americans, civilians, everyone. Okinawa proves that conventional invasion isn't just costly, it's apocalyptic. This is the story of why. Okinawa sits 340 miles south of mainland Japan. It's the largest of the Ryukyu Islands, 60 miles long, between 2 and 18 miles wide. Population, over 450,000 civilians. It's not a remote Pacific atoll. It's a populated island. Farms, villages, cities. People have lived here for centuries. And now it's about to become a battlefield. For America, Okinawa is the final stepping stone. Take Okinawa, and you have air bases within easy range of Japan. Staging areas for the invasion. Ports for supplies. The island is crucial. For Japan, Okinawa is the last barrier. If Okinawa falls, the next battle is on the home islands. Kyushu, Honshu, Tokyo itself. This is existential, and Japan fights accordingly. Japanese defensive plan is similar to Iwo Jima, but larger. Instead of fortifying beaches, they let Americans land unopposed, draw them inland, then destroy them from prepared positions. The island's terrain helps. Southern Okinawa is hilly, ridges, caves, perfect defensive ground. The Japanese commander, General Mitsuru Ushijima, has 110,000 troops. He fortifies the southern third of the island, the Shuri Line, named after Shuri Castle, a defensive network of hills, caves, bunkers, and tunnels. Every position registered for artillery, interlocking fields of fire, prepared kill zones. Ushijima's strategy: bleed the Americans, make them pay for every yard, inflict such massive casualties that America reconsiders invading Japan, hold out as long as possible, kill as many as possible, and maybe, just maybe, force negotiations instead of invasion. It's the same logic as Iwo Jima, but on a much larger scale. April 1st, 1945, Easter Sunday, the invasion begins. Operation Iceberg, the largest amphibious assault of the Pacific War. Bigger than D-Day in terms of ships and men. Over 180,000 troops, Army and Marines, 1,400 ships. The entire force descends on Okinawa's western beaches. The landing is unopposed. Marines and soldiers hit the beach expecting carnage. Instead, nothing. No fire. No resistance. They push inland cautiously. Still nothing. By the end of the first day, 60,000 troops are ashore with minimal casualties. Commanders are confused. Where are the Japanese? Did they abandon the island? They didn't. They're waiting. Ushijima ordered his troops to let Americans land. Let them advance into the interior. Then hit them. Don't waste men defending beaches. Let the terrain and prepared defenses do the work. It's a trap, and the Americans are walking into it. For the first few days, resistance is light. American forces push across the island, capture the airfields, secure the central areas. Then they turn south, toward the Shuri Line, and that's when the real battle begins. The first units hit the defensive line, and the fighting explodes. Suddenly, it's Iwo Jima all over again. But worse, because the terrain is more complex. The defenses are deeper. and the Japanese have more troops. The Shuri line isn't a line. It's a defensive zone, miles deep, hundreds of fortified positions, hills with names that become infamous. Sugarloaf Hill, Chocolate Drop, Strawberry Hill, Half Moon Hill, Horseshoe Ridge. Every hill is fortified, honeycombed with caves and tunnels, defended by troops who've been ordered to fight to the death. The battle for each hill follows the same pattern. American forces advance. Japanese fire from concealed positions. Americans call in artillery, airstrikes, naval gunfire, pound the positions for hours. Advance again. More fire, more casualties. Eventually, American troops reach the crest, clear the visible positions. Think they've won. Then at night, Japanese troops emerge from tunnels and reoccupy the hill. The next morning, Americans have to take it again. Sugarloaf Hill is the worst. A small hill, maybe 50 feet high, 300 yards long. For 11 days, Marines attack Sugarloaf. 11 days of continuous fighting. Companies go up the hill with 200 men, come back with 20. Replacements arrive. Go up the hill, get slaughtered. More replacements. The casualties are obscene. Over 2,600 Americans killed or wounded taking one hill. And when it finally falls, it's just one hill. There are dozens more. The fighting is close-quarters brutality. Flamethrowers, satchel charges, grenades, bayonets, men fighting in the mud and rain. Because Okinawa's spring brings monsoons. Torrential rain. The ground turns to thick mud. Vehicles bog down. Supplies can't move forward. Wounded can't be evacuated. Men fight in waist-deep mud. Slip, fall, drown in shell craters filled with water. And the Japanese won't surrender, even when surrounded, even when cut off. They fight from caves until killed or buried alive. Capture rates are minimal. Americans learn to seal caves with explosives or flamethrowers. Don't bother calling for surrender. Just kill everyone inside and move on. While ground forces are grinding through the Shuri line, the Navy faces its own nightmare. Kamikazes, suicide aircraft, pilots deliberately crashing into ships. This isn't new. Kamikazes have been used before. But at Okinawa, the scale is unprecedented. Over 1,900 kamikaze attacks. Waves of aircraft, diving into ships, destroyers, carriers, transports, anything they can hit. The Japanese call these attacks kikyusui, floating chrysanthemum, 10 major operations, each one sending hundreds of aircraft. The goal isn't just sinking ships. It's psychological. Break American morale. Make the cost of continuing the war unbearable. And it almost works, because the casualties are staggering. 36 ships sunk, 368 damaged, over 4,900 sailors killed. More Navy deaths at Okinawa than in any other battle. Destroyers on radar picket duty get hit repeatedly. Some ships survive multiple kamikaze strikes. Others are sunk by single hits. The USS Bunker Hill, a carrier, is hit by 2 kamikazes in 30 seconds. 389 crew killed, 264 wounded. The ship barely survives. Sailors watch kamikazes approach. Anti-aircraft fire fills the sky. Shoot down dozens. But some get through. They always get through. And once you see a kamikaze penetrate the screen, diving toward your ship, there's nothing you can do. You just brace and hope it hits somewhere else. The psychological toll is immense. Every day, every hour, watching the sky, waiting for the next attack. And the kamikazes keep coming, because Japan has thousands of aircraft, and thousands of pilots willing to die. They're running out of fuel, running out of experienced pilots. But suicide missions don't require experience, just willingness to die. And Japan has that in abundance. Then there are the Okinawans, over 450,000 civilians, caught between 2 armies. The Japanese military tells them Americans are savages, will rape, torture, murder. Better to die than be captured. Japanese soldiers give civilians grenades. Teach them how to commit suicide. Tell them it's honorable, necessary, the ultimate sacrifice for the emperor. Japanese troops force civilians into caves, use them as human shields, station soldiers among refugee groups. When Americans attack, civilians die. And when they try to surrender, sometimes they're caught in crossfire. Sometimes Japanese soldiers kill them to prevent surrender. The Japanese military considers Okinawan civilians expendable, tools for slowing the American advance. The result is mass civilian death. Conservative estimates, 60,000 to 100,000 Okinawan civilians killed. Some caught in crossfire, some killed by artillery, but many by suicide. Families jump off cliffs together. The southern cliffs become known as suicide cliffs. Hundreds jump. Parents throw children off first, then jump themselves, convinced it's better than capture. American troops try to save civilians, set up camps, provide food, medical care, try to convince Okinawans that surrender is safe. But Japanese propaganda is effective. Many civilians refuse. They hide in caves, starve, die of disease, or kill themselves rather than surrender. It's a humanitarian catastrophe, and a preview of what invading mainland Japan would look like. Because Okinawa is Japanese territory, if civilians here choose death over surrender, what would mainland Japanese civilians do? The American planners know. Millions would die, not just soldiers. Everyone, the entire Japanese population, might choose death. Operation Downfall casualty estimates include millions of Japanese civilian deaths, and Okinawa proves those estimates are realistic. By late May, the Shuri line is cracking. Weeks of continuous assault. Massive casualties on both sides. But American firepower and numbers are overwhelming. Japanese positions are destroyed. Troops are dying. Supplies running out. General Ushijima orders a retreat. Pull back to the southern tip of the island. Continue fighting from there. The retreat is conducted at night. In the rain, under American bombardment. Japanese troops abandon the Shuri line and fall back south. American forces occupy the ruins. Shuri Castle is captured. The defensive line is broken. It looks like victory is near, but the fighting continues. Because the Japanese aren't surrendering, they're just moving the battle. The final defensive zone is the southern peninsula. Cliffs, caves, last stand positions. Ushijima's remaining forces dig in. Maybe 30,000 troops left, down from 110,000. They're starving, low on ammunition, cut off, but still fighting. Because surrender isn't an option. Orders are clear. Fight to the death. American forces surround the southern positions. Bring up overwhelming firepower. Artillery, naval guns, aircraft. Pound the positions day and night. Then infantry moves in, cave by cave, position by position. The same brutal close combat. Flamethrowers, explosives, hand-to-hand in some cases. And still the Japanese fight. June 18th. General Ushijima commits ritual suicide. Seppuku. His chief of staff follows. The command structure collapses, but the fighting continues. Individual units keep fighting. Some holdouts last weeks. The battle is officially declared over June 21st, but Japanese soldiers keep fighting from caves for weeks after. Some don't surrender until August, after atomic bombs, after Japan's formal surrender. Final casualty count for Okinawa is staggering. Americans, 12,520 dead, 38,916 wounded, over 50,000 total casualties. Worse than any previous Pacific battle. And that's just ground forces. Navy casualties at another 4,900 dead, nearly 5,000 wounded. Total American casualties approach 60,000. Japanese military, over 110,000 dead. Capture rate is tiny, only about 7,000 POWs out of 110,000 defenders. The rest fought to the death or committed suicide. And Okinawan civilians. Estimates range from 40,000 to 150,000 dead. The most reliable estimate is around 100,000, a quarter of the island's population. The battle lasted 82 days. Over 1,000 Americans died every week. Every day, 150 Americans killed. And the ratio of Japanese to American deaths is about 2 to 1, much lower than previous battles. Iwo Jima was 3 to 1. Earlier battles were higher. At Okinawa, Japanese defenses and tactics were so effective that American casualties approached Japanese casualties. The kill ratio was narrowing, a terrible sign for any future invasion. Combat fatigue casualties are also massive. Over 26,000 psychiatric casualties. Men breaking down, unable to fight. Shell shock, what we call PTSD. The sustained intensity of Okinawa broke men. Some units had 50% psychiatric casualties. More men evacuated for mental breakdown than for wounds. Okinawa proves what American planners feared. Invading Japan itself would be apocalyptic. The casualty estimates for Operation Downfall, the planned invasion, are calculated using Okinawa data. And the numbers are horrifying. Kyushu invasion, 500,000 American casualties estimated. Full invasion of Honshu, possibly 1 million. And Japanese casualties? Military and civilian combined, maybe 10 million, maybe more. Because if Okinawa is the model, mainland Japan would be worse. Every city a fortress, every civilian a potential combatant. Mass suicide on an unimaginable scale. The entire Japanese population of 70 million choosing death over surrender. It's not hyperbole. Okinawa proved it's possible. American military planners look at Okinawa and know, we can't do this again. Not on the scale of mainland Japan. The cost is too high. The casualties unacceptable. There has to be another way. And that other way is being developed in the New Mexico desert. The Manhattan Project. Atomic weapons. A way to force surrender without invasion. The decision to use atomic bombs is made easier by Okinawa. Not easy, but easier. Because everyone who saw Okinawa knows what invading Japan means. They've seen the mass suicides, the civilian deaths, the refusal to surrender, and they know it would be infinitely worse on the home islands. So when the option is presented, drop atomic bombs or invade, the choice is clear. 2 cities destroyed, hundreds of thousands killed, versus millions dead in an invasion. The math is brutal, but Okinawa taught them the math. Okinawa isn't just a battle. It's a preview, a warning, a glimpse of what total war against Japan actually means. Not just military combat, not just soldiers fighting soldiers, but entire populations choosing death, civilians killing themselves and their children rather than surrender. A culture so committed to fighting that surrender isn't conceivable. And American forces learn something dark about themselves too. They learn they can kill on industrial scales, seal caves with people inside, burn positions with flamethrowers knowing civilians might be inside, accept massive civilian casualties as inevitable, not because they're cruel, but because the alternative, losing, is unacceptable. War dehumanizes everyone, attackers and defenders, military and civilians. The veterans of Okinawa carry it forever. The men who fought there see things no human should see. Okinawan civilians jumping off cliffs, children killed by their own parents, families choosing death together. And they know, we caused this. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but our invasion triggered this. And if we invade mainland Japan, it'll be 1,000 times worse. That knowledge haunts them, and it influences American strategy. Okinawa proves conventional invasion isn't just costly, it's genocidal. For both sides. So when atomic bombs are ready, when the option exists to force surrender without invasion, the choice is obvious to anyone who survived Okinawa. Drop the bombs. End the war. Before we have to do this again. The next video covers the atomic bombs. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The weapons that ended the war. The decision America made based on lessons learned at Okinawa. The destruction of 2 cities to prevent the destruction of an entire nation. Part 8 drops in 48 hours. You're 7 videos deep. Pearl Harbor to Okinawa. The complete story of how the Pacific War became a war of annihilation. But we're approaching the end. 3 more videos. The atomic bombs. Japan's surrender. The aftermath. For the complete story, subscribe now. Because what comes next changed warfare forever. Changed how nations think about war. Changed everything. Okinawa killed 12,000 Americans and over 100,000 Japanese. It proved that invading Japan would kill millions. So America chose a different path. A terrible path. But after Okinawa, every option was terrible. The question wasn't how to avoid horror. It was which horror to choose. And that choice is next.